I'm sleeping so fitfully and deeply that when I wake up now, it's that feeling of, oh, I just want to go back to bed. And I woke up at 05 um, to get going on the day because now I'm kind of switching between 06 and 07. So I woke up at 05 uh, and then just reset my alarm and was like, forget about it. I'm gonna wake up at 06. So tell you what, not drinking, man, really having a huge impact on my sleep and just my mental acuity. It's so evident that I really appreciate it. I really do. Um, and I'm 11 days in or whatever it is, 11 days into 75 days of no drinking, and um, I don't even think about it. It's I'm fortunate because I don't have any of the social habits that I used to, largely because I can't go anywhere because of COVID. So, um, you know, it's all good. But today's stanza 44. It's cool. As I have gone through the art of peace over and over again, um, themes kind of show up in different chunks of the stanzas, and these are some cool themes. Um, 44 is iron is full of impurities that weaken it. Through forging, it becomes steel and is transformed into a razor sharp sword. Human beings develop in the same fashion. So I think what he's saying there is that we're already very strong. The human being is 13.5 billion years evolved. And what has evolved is not just the body, which is pretty spectacular, but also the brain, and from the brain, the mind. And so that's like, that's quite an accomplishment in 13.5 billion years. So that's great, but it's not as refined as it could be. I think one of the things I noticed in my military experience was during my military deployment, I really experienced myself as a kind of best version of myself. So like I was, the impurities of being a civilian turned into, the steel forged warrior. I felt like I was steel, right? When I came home, that experience of being forged and razor sharp dimmed, and it didn't start to come back until I recognized that the development had shifted. It had shifted away from kind of more body oriented, being kind of a cog in the larger kind of machine of the army, into being a kind of whole human being that's capable of full presence and excelling in any environment. And for the military, I was taught to excel in kind of a combat environment. But in the civilian environment, it's really figuring out how to excel in an environment that includes so much diversity of thought, so much diversity of feeling, and so much diversity of action. There's so many things about being a civilian that are just bigger than being in the military. And so it's a whole different layer of forging. And one thing to think about in the context of forging is the challenges that we face, whatever they are, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, social. Those challenges represent this idea of forging. Sorry, the big old bug, I'm gonna kill if it comes by. And so we have to forge ourselves in the same kind of fashion steel is forged. It's got to be worked, so you got to work at it. And that's what the practice is. You're forging your attention. You're turning your attention into something that can be, just pulled from any spot. Here, pay attention to this. Here, pay attention to this. You're forging yourself from that. Your attention is being forged from that, which is kind of like a puppy, right? Latest this, latest that. It's like a puppy. into a focused, laser sharp kind of operator. And that operator is someone who's very present at what's going on and not pulled in any of those directions. And so what he says is, just like that, we develop in the same fashion. Now, each time you practice your attention, each time you practice mindfulness, you're kind of becoming aware of the impurities of your thought and the way you think is impure. And impure in the sense that not like it's bad, but impure in the sense that it's like, I'd use this analogy all the time. It's like playing cards with 26 cards and claiming that the 26 cards is the full deck. It's just not the full deck. You're playing with 26 cards thinking it's the full deck, not knowing that the deck is 52 cards. And that's a problem. You can't be your best if you're only operating at half capacity. So, that's what we do. We're forging impurities. So, get yourself squared away. What cues comfort? What do you pay attention to become comfortable? It's very much the same as what your brand was when you went to the bar, or what your brand is when you pick out a pack of cigarettes, or what your brand is when you're dipping. Those things cue your comfort, right? Well, this is the same kind of thing. Instead of what brand of alcohol do you drink or order first, it's what position do you take that makes you feel the most comfortable. It's not what taste of Skull Wintergreen Long Cut for me. It's not the taste of what brand you're picking out. It's the feel of whether you want to lay down or whether you want to sit up or whether you want to cross your legs. It's not the give me a bottle of Miller Lite. It's let me get my right leg in the right spot. These are the subtle things that you determine for yourself to get comfortable. And now we go into first bell, and first bell is the most foundational bell. Without establishing first bell, none of the other steps matter. First bell is for the lizard brain. It's for the part of your head, part of your brain that is totally tied to survival. You've got to go through that part of your brain in order to get to the second part of your brain, which is the emotions. Then you got to go through that part of your brain to get to the highest levels of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is big picture stuff. You can't get to big picture unless this is settled. It's just the way it is. And it's particularly powerful with people suffering from PTSD. If you have PTSD, part of what your challenge is that you're always kind of in the PTSD world. And if you're triggered, the same thing that kind of got you kind of really sped up during the event or after the event or as a result of the event comes back like it's happening right now. And it's not happening right now, but because it's so powerful, that's why it's got a whole name. Because it's so powerful, that's what it feels like. So when you practice being present and really drilling down on your safety, that opens the doorway to everything else. You can't skip that step. So that's why bell one's the way it is. Sight picture. If you know your space well enough, and this is the space you always use, feel free to close your eyes. Sound. I like to imagine the world around me as a clock. Is my sense of attention on the world around me order? And I just place wherever the sounds are on the clock. I extend the clock out as far as the furthest sound I can hear. And then I position sounds according to that on the clock. So I always have refrigerator sound at 1 o'clock. The rest of the room's pretty quiet, almost totally quiet. Sometimes I could get birds outside. sense of touch. I can feel my legs crisscrossed on top of each other. I can feel the cushion underneath my rear, the mat underneath my legs. Feel my clothing, a little bit of sweat. Open skin to the air. Taste. Thirsty. Smell. What's there? A tiny little bit of cardboard smell. Now, sixth sense. Kind of like the way the cumulative effect of your brain is your mind. The cumulative effect of your senses is that sixth sense. That sense of, I don't know why I'm sensing this, but there's definitely something out there that I'm not aware of, but I know it. I can feel it. And so if you've got that sixth sense, turn it on. And if it doesn't register anything, trust it. If it doesn't register anything, trust it. It's the act of turning it on that matters, not the act of whether or not it's working. The second you turn it on, it's working. It's whether or not you pay attention to it. And if you do pay attention to it and it's not signaling anything, you can yield to the moment. You can yield to the moment and you can recognize, you know what? I'm safe. And you can say it in your head. I'm safe. And then from there, move to second bow. Now build, okay? After you've established safety, you can start building. So it's just like, it's like an explorer, right? You go into a new terrain, you establish a beachhead or a bulkhead or whatever, and then you start to build. Because you can. You've established a place where you can start doing things other than just kind of being protected. So now start to build. Well, what do you build? You build the alignment of your body. And the alignment of your body, every time you build it, reinforces your awareness of your body and helps you become that much more tuned in to when your body is appropriately aligned and when it's not. This is very important, especially as we get older. Without alignment and without awareness of alignment, your alignment will just deteriorate because gravity's always pulling on you. And if you're not aware of it, most people aren't, if you're not aware of it, you'll just succumb. And that's no good. It's no good. So, first place you start to build is right from what's beneath you. So you just notice your ground. It's very obvious that you're not on sand or water or something. You're on something solid. So you can just notice that. But you have to ask yourself, how do you notice that? That's so important. How do you notice that? So from there, you move into your pelvis region. The pelvis region is the region of the base of your spine. It's also the region of your genitals. It's also the region of your tailbone. That region is a region that you just want to kind of notice, maybe shift a little bit, maybe a slight movement here or there, and then move up from there into your core. Notice if your core is being held in any way, if you're flexing or tensing or pulling your core in any way. From there, move up to the heart space. Heart space includes shoulder blades and collarbone. I'm seeing a lot of this stuff, a lot of kind of the rounded shoulder stuff. No, get that out of here. Shoulders back and down. Now, when you pull your shoulders back and down, you have to recheck at your core, make sure that's not re-tensing in any particular way. You got to open your heart back up. You got to feel this kind of pull across your chest. Shoulder blades are down. Release the belly. Release the belly. Let the flex, let the kind of the slack of the belly be taken up by the pulling down of the shoulder blades and the lift of the heart. It's not the front of your body that lifts. It's the shoulders that come down. Once you got there, come to throat. throat, jaw, face, head. Throat, jaw, face, head. You're looking for just kind of a balance. You know, your head is just kind of easily balanced on top of your whole spine. Your whole spine is easily aligned within the body. The body is easily balanced off of kind of on top of the pelvis. The legs are easily crisscrossed underneath, and you're good to go. Now here is an opportunity to notice any feelings in the body. Could be emotions, could be desires to move, it could be, you know, pain, anything you're noticing in the body. Just take stock. Don't try to fix. Take stock. Just notice, especially emotions. There's a location of something, an intensity, a direction, depth, a size. Just notice, okay? The reason why you want to notice is you want to juxtapose what the feeling is to the breathing practice that we're about to begin. And I'll explain that after third bell. Okay, so third bell is breathing. So just set your baseline, just notice your breath as it is. And now I'm going to explain this in two ways. If you've got something you're feeling, right? If you've got a sensation that you're feeling somewhere, try to notice its location. And then try to notice its direction. So what's it doing? If it's expanding out, where's it expanding out from? If it's kind of tightening in, where's it tightening in from? And what you want to do with your breath practice is do the opposite. So let's say you've got a sense of anxiety in the chest, right? So you feel anxiety in the kind of the heart space, throat area, okay? So let's say you're feeling that, and let's say its intensity is in, you know, level 4 or 5, and then let's say that its size is, you know, no bigger than the chest. Its depth is kind of deep. It's deep in the body. And so you know where it is, you know how intense it is, you know what it's doing. And so what you want to do is you want to get your breath involved in kind of countering the energy. So if it's kind of collapsing in, breathe by expanding out. If it's really, really kind of pushing out, really work on exhaling fully. So you see how there's this relationship, there's this balance, right? So what's happening when something shows up is it's past a polarity, right? So everything inside's a polarity. So if it's overly intense, it's moved past 1 per se, you know? So you want to get it back inside of even, right? So if it's +1, right? +1, then maybe you could provide a longer than typical exhale, right? So let's just practice that. So go in deep and then really long exhale. Try to double the amount of time you exhale. Just try breathing in for 5 seconds, exhaling for 10 seconds. See if you can tell how to do that. And you apply that kind of balance, the opposite kind of feeling of what you're feeling. You use your breath to create the opposite feeling, and then you sit with that for about a minute. So the recovery comes during the rest. The recovery doesn't come, the healing doesn't happen in the action. The healing happens after. The healing happens in the ease. In the ease, after the forging, it becomes honed. Okay, so the honing takes place as part of your body. You forge, you as a kind of awareness do the forging, but the honing comes from the parasympathetic side of the nervous system, kind of being able to do its thing. And so now, kind of the rest is where the magic happens. So let's rest for a minute. Okay. So all those things that we've done, first bell, second bell, third bell, are all great for your mind and your body. But even bigger and even more powerful is the impact that you can have with your heart. And so what I've been doing recently is encouraging you to kind of put your hand, see if you can see this, put your hand under your kind of heart area. So find your heart with your right hand and then put your left hand underneath your thumb. And there's a kind of a nice relaxed position that you can find where you kind of cover up your whole heart. And then from there, you just work to feel your heart beating underneath you. Now you really got to get quiet because what we've done has been kind of relaxing to your system. So your heart rate and blood pressure have gone down. So your heartbeat may be less discernible than usual, or say after you went on a run or something. But just get quiet and see if you can feel your heart. Now from here we move out of our self kind of practice and into our connected to all practice. So the whole point of what it means to armor down is to open your heart. The real strength that comes from the human is from the open heart. It's the power that is beyond our individual selves. It's the power that arguably comes from the mystery that kind of is life itself. And so here's the opportunity first to express gratitude. Be gratitude for yourself, for your own body, for the own time it took to practice, for your house, for your loved ones, whatever shows up in your mind. And then the next step of cultivating this goodness inside of you is to share it. And that's through the practice of compassion. So in your mind, you can reach out to whatever you perceive of as suffering. And anybody out there who you perceive of as suffering. Reach out to them with your mind and your open heart and offer them your goodwill. And then the final kind of piece is you take your breath in, you breathe into the heart space. And on the exhale, you float your hands down. And we can finish with a bow. I just want to thank you for being part of the practice. I get up for this. So thank you for getting up with me. I'll reread the stanza and I will finish for the day. Iron is full of impurities. Impurities that weaken it. Through forging, it becomes steel and is transformed into a razor-sharp sword. Human beings develop in the same fashion. All right, Armor Down. Hope you have a great Thursday. Hey, Pam. What's up? Hey, Jessica. Good to see you all. So happy to see you. All right. See y'all later.